Hello, hello, everybody. Let us know if we have good sound and everything, because I'm not really sure if that's okay. If one is louder than the other, just let me know in the chat. Good to see you all there. Joe, Joel, good to see you. Just let me give a shout out there on Foxhole for Stacks, Thumper Rose, and Mr. Spock for donating the gold pills last week. I forgot to totally mention it. I forgot to even watch their chat. So I will be looking at the chat on Foxhole today as well. And for the others on, let me see, D Live and YouTube, I will be there. And if we're all right, we're also into the stream of Jenny, I
Yeah,
believe.
on my YouTube is streaming it too.
Okay, perfect. Let me know who is louder, if I need to lower my audio or Jenny needs to lower or higher hers, whatever. Good to see you there. I see now. Amy, good to see you. Val, Cosmic Bear, David Benson, and I'm happy to see you all there. Sandy, Michael, Tammy, good to see you. So today we're here with um, Jenny Lee. As we know, Jenny Lee is a multidimensional international medium, author, and remote viewer. And we've actually had, uh, we're supposed to actually go live already together in May, but then I decided to move to Mexico, which I did this summer. And now that I live here and I finally have internet, we could realize this interview finally.
Right.
And maybe the universe just made it this way, didn't they?
Yeah, hopefully my internet is a nice tonight because we are having snowstorms here. So
Right. You're in the snowstorm. I'm in the heat with the Mexican band that's outside playing. I hope you guys won't be disturbed by it. But yeah, that's what we are. But we're in the same time zone, which is interesting.
yeah, we
But
are.
welcome to be here. Thank you so much for coming. For those that don't know you, can you introduce yourself a little bit and tell us something about yourself and how everything started for you?
Well, I'm an international remote viewer, and that is mainly my more work ethics that I put time and energy into. I'm also a medium. I'm also a spiritual teacher, and I'm also an author. But I mainly work in the remote viewing field of doing a lot of work with that, and I do teach classes for students that want to elaborate their psychic ability, intuitiveness, all it combined together.
Wow.
So but I am one soul that's never been taught by any human in this process. It's all been through creator or spirit combined together in that vessel. And that's where I get my information.
That's amazing. So, how did it start for you? When did it start? Like since you, well, could walk?
Actually, earlier before that. So I remember being at a place before I was born here, and I held that memory. So,
Right.
as a young child, I was still focusing on that place and going back to that place. So the memory never went away. So I kept applying that information to this world. And to this day, that's what I focus on. And that is the ultimate priority across the board. That's always
Right.
been,
That's
yeah.
amazing because I hear other people that do remember it, but they get these memories back later again, just like I did. Um, so for me, it was, I couldn't even remember the first 7 years of my life. And then all of a sudden, well, my life was kind of hell. And then I started my healing journey, and then memories started coming back. But
Right.
I'm not so much a psychic, I'm more a clear cognizant, which you cannot really do anything with because you have nothing to prove. But that doesn't matter. For myself, it's probably for my own journey, not just to share it with people like it's with you. So you also help with missing people and stuff like that. So can you tell me a bit how you started getting into it as soon as you became an adult, or was it much earlier?
It was much earlier. There was a lot of resistance. You have to understand that I believe that the ones that are have been seated here, from the place that we held a memory, we do not really have a choice. They think, oh, you got a choice. You do not have a choice, because they will definitely push that agenda in front of you every day. And that's what they did. So I think I was very young. I was only 4 years old. And this was when I lived in Denver. And my mom came to me, and I kept talking about this little girl that died from being murdered, you know, and she's like, what are you talking about? And so at that time, I didn't know how to handle things. I kept putting dolls in the ground to handle the situation, what I was supposed to do to cognitively do something with the energy. And then that was um, confirmed that she did die, so I always have to find a way to do something with the energy or apply the information that I know about the ones that have passed on. So it started then. So then it's like a different ear you're listening to. You're not listening to the normal people doing the normal thing. Our perception goes into a higher understanding. And when we're in this world, that is the priority, no matter what is put in front of us forever. And so at young, they try to analyze you and figure why you won't cooperate with things at a young age. And they did all kinds of testing on me. I was that child that had all the wires on her head, and they did
Oh,
tests.
wow.
And what was funny is when I did that, they spirit came in and said, you are not going to sleep. You are not going to give them the information. And I was 5 at that time. And I didn't sleep the whole night. I did not sleep. So they never got the information they wanted. So everything's been a challenge to stay away from them dialing into, and I'm talking about man, to dialing into the information or trying to figure out what's going on with me. It
Wow.
was, spirit had a way of avoiding it. So that continued and continued. With cases,
But wait, were you scared because you were a child yourself? So all that stuff is happening, but obviously you, as you're being a child, you see things others don't, and then
right.
they do tests on you and all that stuff. So were you like calm because you knew what was going on, or was it like scary because human beings, adults are busy poking into you?
I wasn't scared. This is the thing I try to get people to understand. I literally can see through people. So when you guys see a physical person, I see the energy inside the person first.
Right.
So once you start with that perception, that kind of fear attitude is just gone, because you're seeing everything through everything. You're like, well, so we don't talk much at that age. We just perceive, perceive, perceive. We already know the situation before we get into the room. So that's the whole situation. I mean, and that's when people, when they say they're psychic or intuitive, I'm like, anything that you're saying, I can perceive going through it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Or I can ask, this is the biggest thing I tell people. If you really want to know if a medium's real, a remote viewer's real, ask if they can see behind you, or what is standing, or what spirit is standing behind you. Tell them to express that information right away. Explain it.
Right.
And they won't do it. So I'm just telling you, I was born with it in a different way, that it's very strong and it goes fast immediately. So I have no complex of doubt in my information of what they say. That's
Yes.
what makes people feel uncomfortable, that you're confident about getting the information, because I've been doing this forever and just saying exactly what they say.
Right, because you've got, so you're clairvoyant, hearing, cognizant, um, the whole spectrum of it all
Right.
at once. And so I can understand that you're really confident with that, because I'm just clear cognizant, which nobody could care less about, because it's my word against whatever they believe. But that doesn't matter. But I do know that feeling of having that confidence, just knowing. But I do not see, I do not hear. And so it's very interesting that you have all these spectrums of those psychic abilities, so to speak.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's just you see the field of spirituality right now, and they get to a certain point, and you can notice they don't have a lot of trust because they want to be right at the moment. And spirit's like, no, you open your mouth and you say exactly the way that we say it, because that builds the trust. You have to really trust us, not analyze what we're telling you, but really trust us. And that's
Right,
why I don't mind being pushed in a corner with information. I'm
right.
comfortable with it completely across the board, because the information is coming downloaded from them, and they'll describe it in the way that I work in my brain, the way they have it. It's a balanced system that works well together, and it comes in clear. It's just the way it is.
So did you know then from early on exactly what your mission was, like what you came here to do on Earth,
They
or
would
in,
they would
yeah,
tell, and then
go on.
I would blow it off, and then they would tell me, and then I blow it off. But when you're a child with this ability, you're very, very raw. Kids can be very raw when they get information.
Yeah.
And just when I was growing up, my grandmother got remarried, and her new husband sat in a my old grandpa's chair. And I just looked at him very innocently and looked at him, and I said, if you sit in a chair, you're going to die in it. And it was just a clear message. And he did die in it.
Wow. Yeah, I remember that story from your channel. By the way,
Yeah.
I see so many people that come from your channel and they don't even know who I am. I actually have a channel called the Keystone Channel. I'm Patricia. I'm well, it's so weird to say. I'm autistic. I had agoraphobia for 27 years, still do actually. I haven't been around people for 20 years, and I just got back into the world, first with my YouTube channel, and now literally physically. And it's scary, but getting there slowly. But yes, that's who I am. You can find me on my channel, and nice to ask. But yeah, I never did the real pairing together. So I get all your chats in there, and people are like, who's that? Right? So I'm just presenting myself. I'm so sorry for that. But yeah, so I mean, I'm so fascinated by it, because knowing, being a child myself that was so different from others,
Right.
um, and not being able to live in this world, because I could see the masks people have on, social masks. So it never connected with what they think and what they say. And that's a programming they have. And at a certain point, I couldn't do it anymore. I had to retreat from the world, and I stayed out of human contact altogether for 20 years, because I couldn't handle it. And then, so for you, I mean, I looked at you. I actually found you through your YouTube channel. I don't even know how or when, but I do know why, because I was a bit intimidated with your confidence that you had. But then you have all these abilities, and you really know what you're doing, what you're saying. And I just feel everything coming out of your mouth is genuine. I feel it, and I see that it's connects with your head, what comes out of your mouth. That's what I know from people. As soon as somebody talks to me, I know whether it corresponds with each other.
Right.
And I was fascinated by that. And I'm blown away. Your channel is not a lot bigger than that. But at the same time, it's like, hang on, people are not ready to see and act based on those intuitions and things, not to mention not everybody has them, because everybody is so programmed with social structures. Like
Right.
I always say, I'm not socially polluted, therefore I don't care and I don't understand whatever the people have as social cues. I just don't have them. And so watching you, it was like, oh my God, this woman is genuine and freaking intimidating because she is so confident. And she's confident not out of arrogance. She's confident because she knows what she's talking about. And that really got me to follow you actually and listen to you.
And it's about the information. That's what people don't understand.
Yeah,
It doesn't come in a halfway. It comes in very solid, and they'll stay in the energy because I've learned to stay in the consistency. And this is what I've told people is that you can send me in any direction in a target, and I can go after it and
yeah,
sit in there for a while and give you details after details. And it doesn't matter where it's at. It doesn't matter where it's at. I do murder cases, missing persons cases. I do the drawings before I, any of the story is out all the way,
right.
and I give it to the officer, I give it to the family. And like some of those pictures you have in there, it matches up.
Actually,
I'm ahead of the game on the cops. I'm ahead of them on I do fraud cases. I do, all kinds of fraud cases, missing persons cases. I've had cases where they said that the guy has committed suicide, and I've turned it around and said, no, that was a murder, and described it. And they found him, the guy that murdered him, in the same vehicle that I told him and how he would die. And he did commit suicide on the highway. So, and they
and you
turned,
draw them.
yes, before anything. I can
Ex-
draw everything before it's even out there. That's the thing that people don't understand how I can do it. It has to do with that energy again, presenting the information and
right.
then writing everything down and then it has to apply where it needs to go. I like the rawness because I don't want to know all
Yes.
the information because the left brain will come in and give an opinion. I don't want that.
Yeah.
I want the
Yeah.
raw insight of the information before everything is developed and you see everything.
Right.
So that's how it works with me.
I have a few pictures you send me from people that maybe you can add to this.
This
Uh,
is a current case in Indiana, and it's Abby and Libby. Their case has been going on for 4 or 5 years. And see, that was the right was original drawing of the police officer's drawing, and that's the real guy. If you go to the next page with it, I'll show you what I did. So
no,
the police
that's
came out with the picture of this case on the left 8 months after I drew this one. And that was my picture was earlier. So on that case, and that's one of them they have not I apprehended yet.
wait, see. So there was this one, and you actually made this one. But
Yes,
wait,
8 months before the
yeah.
cops did that one.
So
So
you knew it was happening before it actually happened.
no, 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 no. The family contacted me to get involved in the case. To
Right.
start the case, we do drawings of. I got 3 suspects, and then he was one of the first ones. That younger one. There's another picture I'll show you that matches everything up. That's recently on the news. Well, it's recently around, but they don't know that I did a lot of the drawings. Um, let's see if you got the other picture.
Um, Wait, let me see. I did get some. I might miss one. Let me see quickly. No, that's not it. Uh, Here it is. This might be it. Let me see. It's loading.
It's okay.
Was it?
Um,
Was it?
yes, those are all the suspects. So I did the first picture on the right. Then
Yeah.
this is the guy, the lower guy is the one they've got in jail now, right in the middle. And I did the picture of that one probably about a year and a half ago. And then
Right.
the other one too. So I drew all of them before if that was posted. That's the thing about it is I'm going off what I perceive,
Right.
not what I get from this realm or what they say about it, because my information comes from them.
Right.
Where the accuracy comes from. That's where the download comes from. That's the whole thing about this is building that relationship, that information that comes in. So there's only one that they are prosecuting right now, and there's still two others that one of them they're looking at, and I don't think they've caught that younger one yet. And I tell people some of these cases they'll only catch two of the murderers or one of them and not catch the other one, and they just want to close the case. And it's one of those things you have to make sure everybody is caught and prosecuted.
So then, I mean, you do like the those things, but then next to that you also have the multidimensional war going on, the world war going on, what we call the silent war, so to speak, on so many levels, whether
Right.
it's ET level, whether it's multidimensional, whether it's like on this plane physically. You pretty much do get lots of information about that. Is that because you get it in spontaneously, or do you choose to remote view it yourself or search for it?
You know, it was really funny how this all opened into that door, and I didn't. It was first, it started with the election in 2016. I was just like, and then they're like, Jen, this is an assignment. I'm like, I don't want it. Give me a different assignment
Yeah,
because
that's what you want.
that know that we were chosen to do this, we know it's diligently every day. Every day you have to fight. Every day you have to stand up. Every day you have to use your voice. It's every day,
Yes.
the endless hours. So, and it was like that through that whole time between 2015 all the way to we are now. And I'm just like exhausted, tired, wore out. Of course we are. But it
Yeah.
is a silent war we're going through. But you have to, like I tell people, you take the knives out of your back, and you take the stones that people throw at you. Keep staying on the path that you are chosen to stay on that path and complete. That's the thing about this narrative is spirit's consistent. Prime is consistent. We stay on the path. We don't go off the path very long. We don't create new characters or anything like that. We just like, this has got to be completed before we move on. So I
Right.
find it funny how there's societies out there, they change their story every day, every 2 weeks. It's a new thing. And I think that's with the massive confusion. But
Right.
what I know from Prime and the information and all that stuff, it stays consistent, it stays strong, and it stays on target
Right.
always. And that's, and it, to me, when they're changing things, it's a weakness. They're not getting the information they need, so they want to create something. And that's the thing. It's just like, just stay on target of what needs to be seen and what needs to be shown, and they always show the truth. You don't worry about that.
Right.
So, and that's why I talked about that circle of when you first started this in 2016, it was a big circle. And now that's a small circle of the truthers right there. It's very small now. And
Yes.
people are starting to see it and know and accept it. And they also know they're not going to get their answers from them anymore. They have to do it themselves. They have to do the work themselves.
Right.
You know,
Yes, and I see, I hear many people talking about divisions within every single community, truth or UFO, whatever, and I'm like, well, it's because it's supposed to be that way. Because eventually you get so confused that you don't even know who to follow anymore. That you have no choice but to go inside, and so. Oh yeah, I don't even know who's real anymore, who's a whitehead, who's a blackhead. Nobody cares. All we care about is to go inside and heal your own stuff inside. It's
right?
not important what happens outside of the world, because at the end of the day, it's all a projection, isn't it?
It is. And the thing is, Prime, because I had done pictures of Prime Creator and all that stuff and draw them and all that stuff. But he's saying nothing's in the way now. There's
Right.
nothing in the way between me and my people. No church, no government, nothing. They have a pure light to me to connect with me. And it has to do with everybody. Everybody has the ability. So these idolizing people that say that they're special and they are the ones that can do it, push them aside. Push
Right.
them aside, because it doesn't matter anymore.
Right,
And it
because
doesn't
that's
cost
actually
you
giving
anything.
your power away
Yes,
altogether again,
yes.
like we haven't done for centuries. Now they do it to influencers, people that have, oh, you
Yeah.
have more followers, therefore, oh, that person must be telling the truth. It really doesn't matter. You need to know your truth within.
Right. And so that's the thing, is I tell people what you do here matters. And they see that up there. And so you better be walking that path, because you'll be called on the ones that you are leading. And you
Yeah.
better know your stuff, because they will be calling you on that.
Oh yeah.
And and then you get into that human concept and think, well, I bullshitted people here and I bullshitted people here, and I can bullshit everything. No, you can't. No, you
No.
can't. It's going to come to a dead end door, and you better know what you're doing, and you better know what you're talking about, and you better know where you're leading the people, because
Yes.
it's all going to be seen at the end of this situation. Period.
Yeah. I see many people going back or going into their ego more than ever. And I think it's because we are being also challenged within our shadows. I know I've been being challenged. When I moved from Holland to Mexico, I thought, um, things things have to change in my life, because I cannot stay forever between four walls. I need to get into the world. And
Right.
so, both my cats died after 15 years within 1 week time. That was not a coincidence. And so, and then everything aligned for me to get here. And so now I'm here, and it was so smooth to come here. Everything aligned, but the work started when I got here. So
Right.
now I'm being confronted with those shadow sides that I really have to work on. And for me, it's that way, but for others, it's in all different ways. It really doesn't matter. And people tend to escape into their ego, which is our biggest enemy at the moment, I believe, because I do feel that is what is feeding our fears as well, isn't it?
It is, but a lot of the ones, they've all made contracts.
Yeah.
They're all leading you down a path that they've been chosen. They've either chose that, they bought that path, they made a contract with that path, and that's what you need to figure out. Are they
Right.
leading me to the truth, or are they leading me to what they've already made a deal on? And that's the thing. That's why I'm telling people, listen to your own instinct. If nothing fits within 2 minutes, it's not going to fit in an hour or 2 hours from the situation. That's the whole thing. And you see people, this is what blows my mind, is you see some of these big YouTubers, and they have these other people that work with them. And then, what's funny? I look at them and go, those are the ones with the gifts. Those are the ones, and they can't even see it.
Right. Right.
Can't see it. And that's what blows my mind, because they can't see through it.
Yeah.
They're they're just
Always,
sitting there wanting to be led. They're just
well,
asking, lead me. And they think that this person has the answers. And if they can't open a door for you, you need to move on and find that door. The
right.
one that will
right.
open it for you.
I
That's the
think
whole
also
thing.
it's a bit scary because I always thought, well, I came out from the political spectrum from online. I was a total nerd. I did research and all that, so people knew me from there. And so then, as a personal challenge, I started my YouTube, which then all of a sudden grew. And I was like, what could possibly people want to hear from me? Because I never had reference point of anything, not being around people. But then I learned that whatever I learned in all those years away is so different from others, and that's where they learn from. But then I thought, well, I don't want to have a big channel like grow like crazy, because you really need to balance out where your ego is, and all that stuff is not easy. And I see that when people's channels grow exponentially in a very quick time, they don't know how to deal with it, because they they don't have the time anymore to be with themselves, and so they tend to move on to ego, I guess, because followers, and who's gonna you know find me important and all that stuff. And it's so far off the path that the initial reason you started a channel to begin with is lost.
See, and that's the thing with even what I have, every person that's on my channel has to do with, a lot of them is because spirit brought them there. It
Yeah,
has nothing to do with anybody else. It has to do with spirit brought them. I tell them I'm more reference on the other side than I do here.
yeah,
And that's the thing that people don't understand. And so I look at them, I have to lead them down the right path. I have to give them the answers they need. So I look at them as having a responsibility and giving them the tools that they need. So I
right,
don't want I don't want a ton of followers, because I want to handle what I have now and lead them
exactly.
to the right doors. I don't want to lead people astray or confused or down the wrong path. Not at all. And
Yeah,
so
you need to keep your focus. You're only one person, and you can only do so much, right? And it's hard enough. Did you notice? Well, obviously you know, but do you notice around you so many people are now very confused and very fighting with their demons more than ever, I believe. I'm sure I'm one of those, but I do see it around me that people are struggling for real now. And I think it's all about your shadows being revealed, and you need to go through it and find that door that you were talking about.
I do, but I was ahead of the game. I
Oh,
started working on my clients and my students a long time ago. And I have a single signal group, and people are like, I'm amazed, because I really worked on the fear. I really worked on them developing themselves, and they're not idolizing, they are processing, doing the information. And people are just stunned how that group is, because it's not a fear process.
right, right,
And when you lead them that way, what I tell people, I told them the other day, when 3D burns down to the ground, you can walk through the fire with a smile going, 4D's coming right back up. You know what I'm saying?
right, right, right.
So that's, if you can get your students and your people at that point that they can walk through the fire and know that this is part of the process and they're okay with it,
Right,
you've done what creator led you to be here and do. It's not us, it's what's behind us opening doors. Each person on this earth is set in a specific area to open another person.
right.
And we have a responsibility to open those doors for those other people, not contain it, not use it as a prop or to make as much money as you can out of it.
Right.
And ones that think it's all about the money, you don't really know spirit, because they take care of everything you need.
Right.
Always. And that's what
Yeah.
shows me that trust is not there. And that's the thing about this is we're at a different point now, that I did a video on a couple of weeks ago, that I told the spiritual community, get your shit together. What are you doing?
Yes.
You're supposed to be ahead of the game. Your people are supposed to be ahead of the game by now. And you're dragging this out. No,
No.
you can't.
Right, that's so true. I see that too. It's like there's this big ego battle going on about money, about followers and stuff, and but at the other side, on the other hand, it's also like that's how you divide the wheat from the chaff, I believe you say.
Mm-hmm.
So I do believe everything is exactly the way it's supposed to.
Right.
That's what I feel. And because, it's only ramping up for those not sticking with the program, it's only going to get more difficult for you. That's what I feel for myself. And let me just say hi to Dennis Lindsay. Good to see you. Up three. Good to see you. And I saw Elisa Herrera here. Good to see you too. And Thumper Rose. Good to see you there. I am in the chat from Foxhole, by the way. So, and Thomas Lynch, good to see you. Thank you for commenting. And I see you now. That's really great. You have great followers, by the way, viewers. They are really, on the program as well, I can see. And
They're
so
strong.
you actually sent me something about the Giants yesterday. And no coincidences there, because as you send it to me, I'm actually reading an article that I've seen on Reddit like 4 years ago by a man that used to hunt these down in the Middle East. And I was bumping into it again, and I thought, oh my God, I need to read this again. I'm reading it. Then you send me that message, and I'm like, can't make that shit up, you just can't.
Nope.
And I'm like, there is so much going on there. And then I saw another article that was posted about apparently 12 scientists, whatever it was. But no, it's such a big picture. It's so complex. I've been reading the books on the Buseji Mountains in Romania. I don't know if you've heard about it. And they talk actually a bit about the giants that you are channeling. And I'm like, oh my God, you need to read this article on Reddit. You need to read it. They're talking about the man with the blue eyes that
Mm-hmm.
is actually saved him. He saved this soldier right as he's being attacked by this big giant. What is he like? Evilness that you cannot even comprehend, because he describes it so well. And then he said, and then all of a sudden there was this giant with these bright blue eyes,
Right.
and his name was Yura.
Uh-huh.
And Yura was explaining to him that he was there fighting next to, about by his side. And this is from 2009 up all the way till 2019 been going on, these fights in the Middle East. And so I wonder how this is related to what you shared yesterday, and if you want to share something about this to begin with.
See, the thing is, I had a vast conversation, especially with Alex Collier,
Right.
because I've been talking about this with him, and he knows it. And you have to understand, some of the stuff I get, I don't want. Okay. But then if I don't write it or draw it or imprint it, they'll drive me nuts.
Right.
So I'm like, where? And they're like, the Giants. Okay. And I have a map that goes all the way across. So they showed me, they're like, okay, you have to go in the ground. So when they show me in the ground, they show me sand, they show me water, the way it smells, everything. And I was like, okay. And then how they look, and that's how I have to draw them. What they're, there was 5 or 6 of them, and then they're moving on purpose because they have a device that they do not want man to touch or get near. Okay,
Yes.
and so I was like, and when I did that channel I sent you recently, I did one last night. I was like, well, it's not a big deal to go up and get the rest of the information. And they covered all that information to add to that, which I got to do the drawings of. So more drawings on top of that. And
Yes.
sometimes I'm doing so much drawings and so much downloads that I can't do everything. So like that map that goes all the way to Lebanon, all the way to Iraq, it keeps
This
going.
one, yes.
So, And um, then the lower drawing I did is that giant, and he's carrying a device, and I know what the device is.
Right.
But then after I do the downloads, then I went on Google, and then they're like, that giant you did looks exactly like one of these guys. And I was just, and they're carrying the same device. That's the thing about the rawness of the information. That's a different case. Sorry, not the same guy.
Wait,
Okay,
I've got
that's
this
that
one.
that is has to do with a different version of. I am using that as an example of a different giant. I haven't. I did a download of that 2 years ago. Last night I figured out where that mountain is. That's Enki, by the way. That's what it looks like.
Right.
And then this is Prime Creator, how he shows your side view of his eyes, the side view, because it was hard to understand the energy and everything. And then
And then there is, wait a minute, that
that is
one.
that's one of the over creators that I work with the creators and the over creators.
And
So in this is I'm working on this with these are ships that've been deep down in our planet for a long time. They're self-containing, and they show me these are coming up out of the oceans, and they look like this is a very big one. And at first I
right.
was, gosh, I can't describe this, but they're very huge. So yeah, I do these all kinds
Is
of
that from Antarctic?
yeah, yes.
Right.
And then when I went up to do some information on the Pleiades, then that's why sometimes I hate going up there, because then like you're trying to focus on what you're supposed to be doing, and they're like, oh, by the way, look at this. It's like,
Right, right,
no.
right.
So I'm like, oh. So anyway, and then that Antarctica has to do with that lake, that red lake, which that's where they showed the Ruby Lake.
This
Um,
one.
no, the red one, that is a lake that's in Antarctica.
I only
It's
have,
not water, and that's what they've been hiding for a long time. Anyway, so everything that I see, I have to draw in detail, and some of it's very hard. So I've done all kinds of stuff. Um, but the thing is, with the giants, uh, they were moving a device when I was doing this, and moving the device, and moving the device, and I was just like, and these are huge. These are big ones. These are not the ones you've seen here before. These are more like God giants. Now, I don't mean in the way. I mean they're that big. And uh, when I see God's creators, they have the crystal eyes. Okay, their eyes are very pristine, very crystallizing. That's the thing. I've seen a lot of them, and like the Anunnakis don't have that.
right.
They don't have that, because it's something inside that's a capability, and that's not in their process. So anyway, and there's a lot of knowledge and capability, and the Anunnakis were limited in certain areas. So anyway, so moving this device, and then they come back and they showed me, they're like, so I'm not gonna say one of these other gods. I don't want to give too much information away, but he's been waiting for a device underneath a mountain, because one of the biggest giants was underneath that mountain, and the device is something this other god had, and he's waiting for that. And I haven't done the
Right.
drawing or description, and it's not a sword. But anyway, so they're looking around waiting for these devices. And that's why that whole thing that you got to read, it's so complicated, because when I'm doing this, I'm downloading. And that part of it I got done. So I have 20 pages of this stuff just in detail. Of It's not just like, well, here's a giant. No, I like their face, their demeanor, what they do. I mean, that's the whole thing about this. When you're
And this
downloading,
is the article I sent. I actually put it in the chat for from Reddit. I don't know if it actually goes to your chat as well. I hope so. But anyway, I put this this is 5 parts. After the fifth part, the man stopped writing, and we don't know if they killed him, whatever. But I read all parts, and it's so similar to what you were talking about. And this was, he started writing it into like 4 years ago, but it was all played out from 2008 2009, which is so interesting that you come up with all that stuff right now. That is that because it's evolving, the story, right?
Right.
So
It's
there is these all these
evolving.
different giants that coming out of the woodworks right now.
Right. And this is the thing. So when I do the drawings, I do the predictions, I set it aside until I wait for some recognition of something else that sticks to that, that's supposed to be part of it. And a friend of mine, she's like, well, you're not going to be happy. Like, why? She goes, you better read this. And I read this and I was like, well, this information's way off. You cannot summons a giant.
No,
No mortal, no human, no shaman, no witch, no nothing. You cannot, you don't have the power, you don't have the source, you cannot. You have to be creator, or you have to be a god, a real one. Okay?
right.
That's it.
Even
That's
if
across
you
the
are
board.
incarnated from said soul parts, because we are incarnated here with missions, and
Right.
so unless you're already from that line when you're incarnated here in order to perform a mission that helps them, then they will contact you, I assume, because that's what I read a lot about when it comes to the books about the Buseji Mountains in Romania. There is so much there about this whole story that got me connected to them. And yeah, I cannot even begin to describe what happened, but it's yeah, interesting to say the least. But because there's so many types of giants, right?
There is, but there's a different colony that another group is talking about. And I try to, we try to have a conversation with this group, and they're just so afraid to talk about it. And if they would have talked about it, they would have realized that I had a lot of information on the ones that they're after. But
Right.
the thing is, it's just, that's just the way people are. They don't want to hear what they want to hear. But so I this is in the Netherlands, and I did a diagram. It's hooked up with a lot of stuff, levels in the mountain, everything. And I was like, shit, that's that. Um, so it made sense, and I put that information aside for a long time because I wait for it to connect again. And
Right.
so I figured out last night, I'm like, damn, that's part of that. So there's different ones in different areas. But
Because the Netherlands is quite small. Well, I was born there, but it's first of all flat. But in older times, we obviously were part of the mountainous region as well, and that changed over the times constantly. But yeah, for the Netherlands today is really small, but it's kind of the lion's den for the deep state as well.
it
Uh,
is, and that's the thing. I didn't. I follow just the structure of where it is, and I have to look and how it's uh, connected to, how I say, cloning. It's connected to doing lab results and testing things, and then it may look like something on the outside, but it's completely something different, and then it's by type of a mountain.
I heard about this actually. Is this happen to be close to Den Haag, where our
It is, yes, it is.
yeah,
And I
yes,
did the drawing, that one, 2 years ago, and I'm like, and I did a drawing inside the mountain, what's in the levels of the mountains. This is not humans that are
yes.
in here, okay? And what they were doing by submarine, by ship, by cargo, everything. And then how you go into the mountain and you go to your left, and you can go down a normal road, but then you can go completely down. So, and
I
that's
happen to have heard exactly what you're sharing right now, and we didn't even know each other, but by a military officer 2 years ago. where they were going there and liberating loads of hybrids, children. It was horrific, like
Yes.
horrific, horrific.
Right.
And he told me that he was there, part of it. And he explained to me what happened, more or less, obviously not in
Yeah.
detail,
And
but
I
it,
released that information.
I didn't talk about it. I knew this
Yeah.
privately.
I released that information. I gave it to where I was supposed to give it. So sometimes when I give information, and they've even said, "You're ahead of the game. Slow down, Jen.
Yes.
Let us get there." Um, so I released the information, just as I did for a facility that was in China. They called it the Walmart of cloning, and I explained all that. And it was really funny because you had all these remote viewers. Well, I was gonna do that, and I knew it was there. And I'm like, well, where's your drawing? Where's the writing?
Right.
You know, like, why? So, um, so yeah, I mean, it was, and I have a lot of information on that. So the beings that are in there are two different types, and uh, I like to take the documentation and then back it up and see how much detail came out. You know, that's what I get excited about. I want to know, how did it end and all that stuff. And sometimes they tell me stuff, sometimes they do not tell me what was the end result. But you eventually end up seeing it. So all it matters is it's proceeded through. It's done. They annihilated what they had to annihilate. But so I looked into it yesterday, and I was just like, okay, is this completely dismantled? There might be some missing. So I'll have to redo this, go back and make sure, and then see where it's at, and then look at the map and see what they say about it. So, because this was taking, going under the water deep with submarines, and then going up pretty far out, and then going off our planet and supplying. So, and they had prime supply in there. They were showing, and these were not. It was not for human beings. So that's what I'm saying. If you ever looked at my office, there's just files after files after files. People are like, this does not look like.
Right.
They're like, I'm like, yeah, that's the way it works.
So, Maya, Kaya, hi, good to see you. Does the fact that giants are being under a country affect that country in any way?
No, because they even show me that they say they can hear the sounds, they can hear the vibration. You can actually, they said that you can hear them down there sometimes. They have a different tone. It shakes different. The tone's different. They only come out at night. They told me too. And it's they don't like to be seen. It's kind of like the Bigfoot syndrome. Um, See, and I've done a lot of research, and I'll tell you why. Because not with just this, where I live right by a ley line that does have giant bones
Right.
and bones, and I looked at the stuff and I compared the stuff. So I'm right next to it, seeing the
Mm.
stuff that's familiar to this, and going, why did I have to move here and be right by this? You know, it's
Right.
just everything is coincide of what you're supposed to be doing. But um, so the thing is the one thing that they said, that we were not supposed to be here on this timeline where we are humans. We're not supposed to be here. We were supposed to be gone a long time ago, and that they were going to surface. And it's just like, and that's not even counting. Okay, you got that colony that's in where you're from. Where was it? What did I tell you?
Holland, Netherlands.
Yeah. Okay. And then you got the ones in Iraq, and then there's ones that are in a different place. That's a whole different confusing puzzle.
I hear,
Deep in the ground, and it's like a city on top of a city that's been there forever. And I
that's
think
probably
talked
Romania.
about it. I talked about it in the statement that I just released. Remember? That's
Right.
weird. They showed me this world that we think, you have the outer shell of
This
things,
one.
see the ocean, and you have the ground, but there's all these caverns they show me, and they're like everything, Jen, fits like a puzzle. And if you would have thought, looking at the surface and things switching around and how reopens things, and how you have to look at this as a massive device of understanding. So, and
Yes, so you're talking about Afghanistan. I know it's all of the Middle
Pakistan,
East, Lebanon, um,
Lebanon, yep,
Turkey,
yep,
but also so the
Iraq,
that's because I saw some questions here in the chat about like, okay, are these giants good? How tall are they? Are they this and that tall? They're in different types of length, from 7 feet tall to 12 feet to up to 40 feet, whatever, and they are not all of same lineages. Some just plainly hate human beings and they eat them. They come out at night. The ones in Afghanistan they are the red-headed giants, right? That are they've been hunted down already since 2008 over there, but they were really vicious and stinky, smelly, coming out at night. So the Afghan people didn't go out at night because they knew about it already. You actually read it in the article that I just shared on the
yeah, and
from Reddit.
everybody
But
heard about the redheaded one in Iraq, and then they had some altercation with it, and they killed
yes,
some. Um, but one of the giants, which was weird, what they were wearing. They described what he was wearing, and then his eyes were actually looking oriental. And I was like, and I did the picture. I'm like, are you sure that this is? And then I did some research on Google, and I actually found the same face on Google, but I drew my drawing before. So that's what I'm saying. The way that he was looking was from a different continent, and they're like, Jen, don't do what you humans do. Put these your religion and your beliefs and your orientation. You understand how deep these caverns go that they can
right,
get into, and they also said that some of these caverns that they have in this other area that I got to do, they're huge. And I'm looking down, it looks like another city made out of stone. And they're saying, man has tried to go into these areas and never returned.
right.
So they're
Yes,
so going into all that detail, all that information, and putting it all together and then drawing it, it's complicated because
it
I'm all about
is.
details. So you got to think that um, underneath us, that our planet, you have the upper shield and then the lower shield that's around our universe. It makes you understand all the caverns, they call them the caverns, big caverns, that these giants would
Yeah,
walk through. And they also said you'd be surprised at what they look like down below and everything. So I was just like, okay. So this is something that's hard for people to understand. So I have to draw it and show them so it does connect with them. That's the main thing. I just don't like people throwing information out there and then you're like, they need to connect with this. They need to understand it.
right,
And you need to do something with that, not just pull it out of a magazine. Um,
right, right. I totally agree with you there. And for me, it's like when you talk about it, I see what you are talking about. I see it
right,
from your brain, right? Like
right,
telepathy.
right.
And but it's so hard to explain it to others because when you talk, you can be all over the place sometimes. No
Mm,
offense, but
yep.
I actually follow you. I know because I can see in your brain what you talk when you talk and what you mean, and I
Right,
can instantly follow it. But
right.
I know that is not a normal thing. Not everybody
No,
can do that. And I do it
not normal.
every single time. And when you do, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I got it. Right. And then you go that way and then you go there with your words. But to me, the words don't mean a thing. It's what I see in your brain that you picture, and you project the picture of what you see, and I
Right,
can see that, but not everybody has that capability to do that. And
right.
so I can totally understand how difficult it is for you to draw it and to then lay it out, also because as people on the surface, we do not have a concept, you know, of what that might look like. I do because I can see it, but most people can't. And so it's really hard to. I remember Corey Good talking about the honeycomb structure. I don't think that is even the right description of it. I would say it's like it's so different, many different layers, and even in the different layers there's different dimensions. It's
Right.
almost like a shield is around it, so yes, it's there, but it's not physically there because it's suspended within another dimension. If
Right.
Well, you know what I mean by that.
Right. So when I go into drawing or channeling, I forget about anything here. I
Right,
do not try to compare it to anything here, because
because
if
you
you try to
can't.
put those two together, you're going to screw up the channeling. You're going to screw up the drawing. So you let it write out the way it is. You draw it the way it is, and you can put it together. Um, so you really have to be not in fear, and not in fear of seeing anything, to be able to connect with that. And when I do cases and stuff like that, I'm not emotionally connected to stuff, because I couldn't do what I do if I was emotionally connected. I'm just a filter of information that flows through and
Yes.
diagrams and puts things together. And so, and then I keep going. You have to understand, I keep going and I keep going to the next one and the next one. I have no idea. Just like recently, spirits like, I do a lot of predictions, do a lot of drawings, and now they're like, now we're at a stage on Earth that you just cannot absolutely trust any information on your planet no more. You have to
Right.
check
That's
everything.
exactly what I said, right? And why is that? So that we have to go
Everything.
inside.
So now I have to do everything, which I started doing. And people are asking questions, but I said they can't be like yourself about your ego. It has to be about uniting as a universe, uniting as a world, as it affects everybody. I'm not going to go up there for one person doing one thing. So I'm working on that stuff right now. So it's kind of nice that I don't have to rely on anything here, and I just channel the information.
Yeah.
It's great.
Actually, people send me lots of stuff, informations that they found about this and that and the other, and I'm like, really, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the, oh, but can we trust this one? Is there still a white hat, black hat, gray hat, whatever?
Nope.
That I don't care.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Burn
Because
it to the ground. Burn it down. That's all I'm saying.
exactly at the
Burn
end
it
of the day,
down.
we still are projecting it in this matrix, and the whole point of getting out of that matrix is by sticking with yourself and
Right.
trusting within your own intuition and your own being, because this is just the physical body, it's just a projection, isn't it?
It is. And the thing is, um, I tell people, if you could stand outside the plated glass and disconnect and get away from this reality and this world, you would come back in with so much more information and less fear. You
Right.
do. You have to disconnect from it. And that's why I am a seer who can see through things, see through dimensions, and see a lot of doors. And I'm able to open doors for people that are, and this is, we're down to this reality. They darn not interested in what I'm getting. They're interested to say, I want to see it myself, Jen.
Right, right,
And
right.
that's what I have finally gotten to, that point where I'm showing them, like, you can get in here, you can look at things, and you can see it for yourself. And they're seeing it for themselves.
Yeah.
So everybody has the capability. It's not a special one or anything like that. You get into the right energy, you go up to the right frequency, the door will open now, because Creator has it open. You
Right.
don't need anybody. You just need to know the tools to do it. And if people would just do that, they would be less stressful. They would feel stronger about themselves and not think that they don't know anything. And I'm just telling you,
Right.
but people keep them distracted, their minds distracted, uh, to occupy them and keep
Right.
them from doing the work that they need to do on their own.
Right.
And that is just the truth. I mean, as through a day, I'm just going to give you guys an example. I'm not looking for things through the day. So I can be working on a case or working on all kinds of different stuff, and then images appear just like this. And then I'm trying to do two things at once, and then I'm trying to say, okay, well, why are you showing me this right now? And I'm getting that recently a lot. I'm just like, and I just tell you that nothing, it's not about 3D anymore that I'm getting. Nothing.
We're already past that.
Thing. Yeah,
But the
not
struggle,
one little thing.
what I think though is that the struggle is because we feel that we're still there. And I've noticed this myself because I'm having loads of trouble with the ego trying to pop in constantly, which then gives me anxiety, panic attacks, and all that. But then I need to get out of that. And just because we're like, we're already not in there anymore. It's the fact
Right,
that I'm still busy with the illusion of being in there. It causes me to go haywire within my brain, right?
right,
So I'm doing so much grounding work, and then pop, I'm back into that ego again. And I'm like, no, stop it, right? And then you try to fight it, but that's even worse because you should not fight, as in try to avoid it, because
right,
it's all about the perspective. And I'm really struggling at this moment with these things, and I believe lots of people are. But we need to learn to look at different perspectives on how to get out of those struggles, those 3D struggles, as I
right.
would call them.
See, the thing is I teach my students to stay completely any spiritual work I'm doing, any channeling. It's always right brain. I don't want to even have a conversation with the left brain because that doubt and fear and control comes in, and I just to the point that I blindfold everybody because they could focus on what they need to be focused on and not be distracted by the 3D concept. And that's the problem. Anybody, you want to get a clear view of things up there, these two eyes can distract you and put opinions. When you block them out, you'll focus on that one eye of that interpretation of information. And so that's where you need to focus. You need to settle the mind so you can release, settle down, and perceive.
Right.
And that's right now, everybody's on the edge and they can't settle down enough to pay attention to what they need to be doing. Um, and if you
So,
look at,
well, what would you advise for people to stay connected with that right brain side? Because I am a QHHC BQH practitioner, and it's a problem when you have left brain people because they're constantly want control and they want to be in their brains. And the whole point is getting back to that right place of your brain where you let go and let the imaginary child come back in, right? So it's hard, especially with men tend to be mostly left brained.
right.
um, so what will you tell them to that helps?
Well, what I do is I shut it down.
Well,
It's not
yeah.
it's not a perception to use. I mean, literally, if if your eye here can see on the left side of the brain, then it's going to reach to information. If you shut it down, put a patch over, you wear glasses, put something over it where it's blockage, your right brain's going to take over. Your right brain
Wait,
perception is
wasn't
going to
the
take over.
left eye connected to the right brain and vice versa, or isn't that?
That's not, I've asked Spirit many times about that. And of course, we know science and everything's down the tubes on that. Because when I started doing this, not by reading, not by anything, they're like, shut off the left, shut off the left. And I was like, and maybe certain people's brains work different, but mine, I can tell you, and what I've taught, it's work effectively for the people that I get them to, if you want that extra perception of clearness, shut the left eye down, the ear, everything.
Are you
And
bloody right? You can actually feel it instantly.
I instantly,
You can instantly feel it. So, okay, for whoever has it the other way around, what it happens indeed, one is actually activating your brain, the other one is activating your feelings, the heart space.
hmm
That's so interesting. That's it.
yeah, she just shut it down. And then you're just waiting for the download of the information, the perception of the information, and then it just starts to flow and flow and flow and flow. And then
Wow.
when I'm doing the downloads, the glimpse of sometimes I don't really ever shut my eyes. There, I'm in a middle stage right there, focus on the mind's eye, and they'll show me but it's never on the left. I don't even
Right.
acknowledge
Yeah,
it.
because I recognize that because I can be in a hyper focus, it doesn't mean I use my eyes. I have them open, but I'm not seeing.
Right.
Because I'm here, I'm in that space where I'm busy with something doing, which is a hyper focus. But many people, and I think everybody can do that. When you daydream, you do the same. You still have your eyes open, but you're actually not using them because you're daydreaming, right? That's kind
Right.
of the same concept what you are
It,
talking about.
so in it, you're not taught to shut something down. You're not taught to let it go.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
and
in
that's
fact, we are taught and programmed to constantly ponder everything and find solutions by thinking instead of feeling,
right.
you know?
And that's the thing is you have to shut it down. You shut it down, and that's where you get these young people now. They're so excited to start, and then they take a class, and then this is what irritates me. Teachers are these spiritual teachers going by their own information, the way they are perceiving.
Yeah,
And that is not the way it works. Spirit says, no, no, no. It has
everybody's
to
different.
be that you are the individual teacher tapping into the student and tapping into the spiritual system that's behind them that tells you what you need to perceive for them and give them that path. Because
Right,
what's going on with that teacher, that is not the same way that is working for that other student. It's like their own DNA of the way it works spiritually. You have to get them to connect with their guides and their spiritual team. And the only way to do that is that teacher has to open a communication with them behind them. And that is why you see this frustration of these spiritual classes. And I get so many that are so annoyed and so pissed off. They have paid out all this money, but they won't tell them anything new because they
yeah,
don't understand that there's a level out there. These higher mindset people that are, you're not feeding that higher mindset. The spiritual community is not.
right.
They're pushing them on the side because
Well, isn't
they're
that
limited themselves.
isn't that exactly what is happening at schools today, which is not a spiritual school, regulated? It's all cookie cutter way. I couldn't understand anything that was taught to me on school because my brain functions differently. But no, that means that you have autism, you have ADD, you have this, you have that, you have this and the other, right? And
Right,
so therefore you don't fit in, you have a disorder, and therefore there's something wrong with you. No, there's not something wrong with you. There's something wrong with the teacher that doesn't treat you like an individual instead of a cookie cutter generalization of human beings. And that is the difference. So when spiritual teachers start doing the same exact thing that they've been programmed to, they still have to go back to school themselves, I would say.
right. And it was funny because I've tried to sit in front of a group or do something and I get in trouble because the spirit inside me says, just say it, and then, and it was really funny when I got into it was a mediumship one, and she's doing this dog bag thing and having each of them put an item in there. And I was like, what? You gotta feel their item to know the person? How is this helping them? And so then the teacher, I just grab it and I put the bag down. And I said, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, I don't want you to come here again. Like,
Yeah.
okay. But why are we wasting time? Why can't we
Right.
say what they're saying? And then, you know, in a group, a circle, and I'm seeing all these spirits around them, and she's
Yeah.
feeling uncomfortable. And it's just like, I can only tell you what I'm getting, and it makes you feel uncomfortable. And then that's the whole thing about it. I mean, trust me, my mouth gets me in trouble on spiritual situations in the public. So I was in a group,
Yeah, well, that's what I'm known for as the key because I have no filter whatsoever.
but it's
And
hard. They don't
yeah,
understand. It's hard because you either say it or get out of the energy. Um,
exactly.
and spirits smart mouth sometimes. You know, it comes through, and they don't understand that sometimes you're thinking something, but sometimes you have to ask yourself, "Am I thinking that, or is that what they're thinking or feeling?" So there was this group, this beginner spiritual group, and there's this guy, you know, developing, and there was a group of them, and this guy says, well, I know I'm on the spiritual path and things are doing good, and I did a noble deed today. And I was just sitting there listening, and I'm like, and he's like, I let this woman cross the street. And my mouth comes out, and spirit goes, what was your choice? To hit her with the car? Got me in trouble. So I mean, but that's the truth. That's the basic level that you know they teach you.
Right?
I know, and then you're like, oh my god, what was your choice? Do you hit her with the car? You know,
Yeah.
so and the guy's like, what? Yeah, okay, come on. So I mean, it's that's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about, the
that's
basic level.
so. If that's your spiritual development of the day, I don't know. That was actually really funny. What are you gonna do? Hit it with a car? Actually, in that case, well, it wasn't me directly, but so I went to Puerto Vallarta, where I live like 2 hours from there, and I see on the street this big iguana, like
Uh huh.
large, and the poor thing is just crossing the road, and around the bend comes a car, and the car doesn't see him. And immediately we came from the other side, seeing the whole scene, and I said, I don't know how you call it. I said, put the horn on, put the horn on. And he put the horn on, and the freaking iguana just jumped away because at time he saw the car saw the iguana, and they just passed each other by like a few centimeters. And I was like, oh my God, thank God that the animal was not squashed, right? Because half a meter long. And I was like, well, I don't see that as a spiritual deed. That is your freaking duty as a human being to just save somebody. So, not running over to an old lady doesn't mean that you have done your spiritual deed. It's rather, yeah, it's like
But
being.
I you know, and I've been in some situation. I was had to do a case, and it was in my local area, and they're like, you should just drive out there. I'm like, those situations don't work out for me. I always get in trouble. So this was when I lived in Montana, and I brought a friend of mine, and we're like, we're going to use your car. And because this girl was missing, and I said, instead of going through all these maps, I'm just going to follow, because I'm really accurate on locations and listening to the spirit where everything is. So we went across his tracks and all this stuff, and we just ate Dairy Queen. And went across the tracks, went in this bad area and stuff like that, because I was like, I know her body was right there, because these were the descriptions and everything. And then we turn around into the property, turn back out, and then we start to go the other way. And then I start to see this truck turn around at the end of the road, and they got guns. And I'm like, okay, spirit, what am I supposed to do now? You put me here. So anyway, and I looked at my friend and I said, I need you to be very blonde right now, like the blonde, and put that ice cream up your nose. I'm serious. I need them to think you are a dumb dimwit right now. And then So anyway, they're coming with guns down the road, and she's
No
got the
problem with those boobs.
yeah, and then she's with the ice cream, and we're just looking like we're lost. And then they, oh my God, we're gonna die. So anyway, we got out of there, and you're in such shock driving the vehicle and going. She goes, "We almost died." I'm like, yeah, and I'm thinking because Spirit was telling me now, have her do the blonde thing, and then if it doesn't work, I'll tell you when to push on the gas. Like we're gonna die. But I mean, I'm telling you, I've been in so many situations like that I'm going, oh my God. But every time I come out alive. So
This is so interesting because I know this intuitively when to play that, the dumb blonde and when to actually say, hello, what the hell are you doing? Right. And
right,
it's such an automatic thing because you are able to read people in the way that they will perceive you at that time and what they expect from you. It's to me that is literally peanuts. It's a second nature for me, and I actually thought everybody had that, not being in the world, and then I discovered it's actually a skill. And I thought, wait, but not every human being has this thing that you can just instantly read it, but
right,
they don't.
right. And that's why I'm not a very huggy type of person because I get into the room and I'm like, I can feel you already here. You know what I'm saying? So I don't need to
Right,
embrace it.
right, right, right.
I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm already feeling, perceiving, and I'm like, okay, this is good enough. So we're already there. So I mean, there's just behaviors and stuff that you go through that this is an everyday situation. You have to wake up every day and deal with situations. I am not the one that goes to a public place and says anything. I avoid it, I fight it, I resist it. And I was trying to do something with one of my children, and I was at a ceramic shop, and I'm trying to do something for that, and then all of a sudden this image of this guy, he goes, I need you. I'm like, nope, nope. I'm my time. My time. And he goes, just ask her about the big ceramic Mary that's in the back. Because all I need you to do is ask about that. And you don't understand, there's conversations that the real conversations, it's not all that love and light. There's arguments, there's no, I don't want to do it. I mean, it's not pleasant sometimes. So I'm like, fine, I'll ask her. So can I ask you about the statue of Mary and the ring you got in Rome? She goes, oh, and she went ballistic. She was crazy. And she shows me the ring. She goes, and I go, yeah, he's here. He died of cancer. He shows me all this. And then of course it's just going to go crazy from there. And then
right.
I just told him, I'm leaving. Goodbye. I'm done. And I walked out the door without my stuff. You know what I'm saying? You have to understand.
Right. Because you don't get a break from that stuff when people or these spirits come in for you to deliver messages for others.
Right. And even when I'm working on murder cases, I was just trying to have lunch. That's the thing that people understand. You're trying to just do normal things. And there's a case I was working on for a long time, and my spirit comes up to my four step and goes, Jenny, you know that guy, the one you're looking for? He's right over there. I'm like, no, it's not. I'm having lunch. We're quiet time.
There's no quiet time in the
And I'm
spirit
like,
world.
and they're like, no, it's him. So I called the gal and I said, does he look like this? Does he wear this? Was he wearing this morning? What they're looking for? She goes, yes, that's him. And I'm like, oh shit. I'm like,
Hey.
I want to finish my lunch.
Hey,
So
well,
anyway,
when that happens and you do encounter them, then your lunch could be, you can have 10 lunches afterwards.
right, exactly. So then I call, and then of course they locate them and all that stuff, and it's just like, you're just like, I can't go anywhere. I just want to do a normal thing. See, I don't go into places and they're like, I don't tell people what I do. I just
Right.
I'm sitting there arguing before I say anything, and then I want to leave. So I do the
Wow.
opposite.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so, but that happens a lot. There's a negotiation stage with them before I'll say anything.
Yes.
So it's pretty.
Wow. Wow. I mean, this is amazing. We've been on for it for 1.5 hour. And I mean, literally, there's so much we can discuss actually. And I want for everybody that doesn't know yet, go visit Jenny on jennysite.net. And also, you're on YouTube just with Jenny Lee, right?
Yeah, it's Jenny's site too, but you can find me there, remote
Oh,
viewer.
right, right. And
Um,
so,
yeah, and then my website, I just don't like to send everybody everywhere. I just go, there's YouTube and there's my website. My website has everything on it.
oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
they can read all the information from that site. So, and that information, you know. So yeah.
Yeah. So, is there anything? Well, let's just ask: is there anything Spirit has to say right now at this moment to the people watching?
It is all about Prime Creator and you. Now, no one is supposed to be in the way. No one is supposed to be getting into your mind, your body, and your soul. You have to start using those abilities and stepping into that frequency. You
Yes.
have the capability. But if you really get stuck, I teach it too. Um,
Yeah.
and I send people in the right direction. And I really make them do a homework. But
In
yeah,
other words, do not get distracted by anything else but yourself.
put yourself, your own energy, your own frequency, your own light. That's what this important day and time where we're at, the ones that were seated here to lead these doors open should be leading the doors open. Okay.
Right.
And so, in leading you to where you need to go to connect with that energy,
Right.
that's what matters across the board.
Exactly.
And then watch 3D burn to the ground, and you will be happy because 4D is going to step right back up. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Look at it a different view, look at it a different way. Don't hold on to someone saying something and thinking, are they right or are they wrong? Because it's bad when spirit's like, you got to come up here for everything now. Because down there, it's a mess.
Right.
So, yeah, and that's just the truth because you could see that every day. And I'm one too that I don't like people pushing products in front of me. You're trying to get information. People just push, 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 push. And that's the one thing I'm like, no. They want the information. That's what they're going to get is the information. I hate trying to have a conversation. Someone's trying to stick pills or something in your face. So
Right.
everybody knows about just give you the information.
Yes. I do agree with that, because yeah, okay, you need to make a living and all that stuff, but I'm like, it's just so contradictory
Yeah.
to what you need to put out and what's so important. The reason I have guests that have important stuff to say, they need to be heard and not be thrown with all sorts of whatever there is to sell. And yes, we are content creators and whatever, but it shouldn't be the priority. To me at least, it's not, because to me the priority here is to help whoever needs the help, to put out information that people can learn from, and and get to know as many people like you as possible. That's why I'm called the Keystone Channel. I do interview. I haven't been on live for 3 months because I didn't have internet here in Mexico, but I do now. And so I've got a whole lineup of new people coming up with new stories, experiences, teachings, whatever, and that's all that matters to me, is that as many people as possible can learn from that, because
Right.
it's the only way is up, right?
Right. Yeah, that is the only way. You don't want to go down because some of them are going down, but you definitely need to go up. You
Right.
have capability, you have the strength. And I'm telling you, if any spiritual teacher right now is not showing you that way, go find one that will.
Yes. And also, and this is very important, do not be put off by somebody having only 50 followers or only 500 followers, because interestingly, those that I learned the most from have the smallest channels. And and how did I get to these channels? Don't even ask me. They just bump into my face. And there's a reason to for it, right? It's not because somebody tells me, oh, you gotta follow this person or that person because they are followed by 100,000 other people. It doesn't mean they're always right. It doesn't mean they have something to teach you. Sometimes it's those that have maybe 3 followers that had something to teach you, right? It's not about the numbers. Don't be fooled by that. That's the ego telling you something. Go with what you feel inside and how it resonates to you. How genuine does it feel for you? The fact that so many followers haven't found that person yet is because maybe not enough people are in tune yet, you know
Right,
but they will. Those will be the next people that are being sought out, like you, Jenny. I mean, I remember watching you when you had what, 60 followers, and I was like, I don't give a shit. Whatever she says, I just feel that it resonates, right? I don't care what people find, think, say, or do. I only care what my body is telling me right then
right.
and there, right? And there is something we need to be starting focus on. Stop listening to others who you need to follow and who you shouldn't. Think with your own heart and with your own intuition.
Exactly. And know that we're in a great time, and pure and this time is where everything comes align. You're not going to ever see this again the way that we are witnessing this transformation.
Right.
It's not a negative thing, it's a positive thing. But by turning your view on the way you're looking at it, and you're turning the view of the way of your capability is, that's what you need to change.
Yes.
Like, and that's why I get scared thinking, having 10,000 followers, all I'm thinking is, I got to figure out what I can do for each one of them, or how am I going to be able to handle it? Or I would look at it different, because the way I see it, I have to lead them. I would have to figure out a format that I can lead them and not just leave them hanging. Because this is the thing I tell everybody: do not open doors you can't shut.
Right.
And I mean, you don't open someone emotionally and leave them hanging. You
Right.
have to complete the mission.
Exactly. In fact, I started in August a blog that helped quite some people, and um, because I just write from my own experiences, and I don't care if it's embarrassing or not. Um, I just, it's called Keystones Philosophy. That's how I called it. But I do actually share my most vulnerable things that I encounter. But it turns out everybody encounters them. So, and if it helps others, then why not? Right? So I don't care that somebody say, "Oh, you've been in a psychiatric clinic for 9 months." Yeah, well, tough shit, right? But I got out of it. Here I am. So, but the thing is that we can learn from everybody. Sometimes it's just simple things that you recognize in somebody else, and
Right,
sometimes it's from the spirit sides, like things that you convey to people. And so it's very important for people to know that you can get your information and your signs, as we would call it, signs, right? You
right,
can get them everywhere,
right,
everywhere you turn. It's incredible. The past year, I actually shared that on Elisa Herrera's channel last week. The stuff that happened to me, you can't even make that shit up. But I just went with it. Also, it's not like I had a choice or anything, right? It was just presented to me constantly in front of it. The question is, are you going to listen to it? Are you going to do something with it? And so, yeah, that's kind of where I am with that sort of information for people and advice for people. It's not about who sells the best merch, who has the most followers. No, it's not. Follow your heart. That's all I can say. And I believe that's the same message that you put out all the time.
Yeah, it's just that instinct is what matters in the future.
Right. Right.
That capability is what matters in the future. That energy is what matters in the future.
Exactly.
Mm. No,
So yeah, to top that off, because you're in Missouri, right?
no, I am in Minnesota.
Oh, Minnesota was still an M. But
Yep.
anyway, from a snowy Minnesota and a sunny Mexico, I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank you, especially Jenny, for being here. If there's anything that you want to share, just let me know, and we're just gonna organize the stream, whatever, right? And
Right.
I'll be weekly back again from now on. I will have somebody else. I believe it might be Monday, Tuesday. Don't have fixed days yet, but yeah, just tune in and subscribe and hit the notification so you know whether there will be an interview or not. And also, don't forget to follow Jenny on her YouTube. Because I think it's important. More people should be listening to you and to um, picking up on the stuff that you share. So thank you so much for being here.
You too. And you have a good night.
And have a good night, everybody.